there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran appear to be stalling. Vice President J.D. Vance is still in Washington, despite a scheduled meeting with Iranian negotiators in Pakistan. President Trump says the U.S. is ready to bomb Iran if Tehran refuses to make a deal. The clock is ticking as a ceasefire is set to expire tomorrow night. The latest from the president this morning. House lawmakers are probing massive fraud in the Medicare system, allegations of fake hospice providers in billions taxpayer losses, what investigators are uncovering and how widespread it could be. The War Department ending mandatory flu shots for service members under a new policy announced today by Secretary Pete Hegseth, making the vaccine optional across the force. Japan making a major shift in its defense policy, scraping long-standing limits on weapons exports and opening the door to selling warships and missiles overseas. What it could mean for global security and U.S. allies. NASA hitting a major milestone for its next moon mission. The core stage of the Artemis 3 rocket now on the move to Florida, marking a key step toward returning humans to the lunar surface.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh is on Capitol Hill today, testifying before the Senate Banking Committee as President Trump's pick to lead the Federal Reserve. Warsh would succeed current Fed Chair Jerome Powell, whose term expires May 15th. Committee Chairman Tim Scott pressed Warsh on how he plans to tackle affordability and keep the Fed free from outside influence. Let's listen.
But under your leadership, how will you steer the Federal Reserve to address the real life issues of affordability is my first question. And my second question will be about how do you make sure that the Federal Reserve stays out of the lane of external influences?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's probably no more pressing question than the cost of living. We need, in my judgment, fundamental policy reforms to fix it. And while it's true that inflation is less problematic, meaning the rate of change in prices is less severe than it was some years ago, hardworking Americans are no doubt feeling it. I think that means a regime change in the conduct of policy. I think that means a different new inflation framework. I look forward to working with my colleagues at the Fed, if confirmed, to achieve that. I think it means, as you suggested, using tools differently. The Fed has an interest rate tool and a balance sheet tool. My view is the interest rate tool gets in the cracks. It's fairer.
Warsh told senators he would make monetary policy decisions independently, regardless of any potential pressure from President Trump. Warsh's testimony comes as the president continues to push Powell and the Fed to lower interest rates. Powell's term as chair of the central bank ends on May 15th. As the confirmation hearing is underway, President Trump weighing in today on his nominee for chairman of the Federal Reserve, the president telling CNBC that he would be disappointed if Kevin Warsh did not cut interest rates right away once he takes office after being approved by the Senate. Trump also saying, quote, "We have to find out," when asked about the construction costs of the new Federal Reserve building. The president has accused current Fed Chair Jerome Powell of mismanagement. The Justice Department is now investigating the matter. Powell denies the allegations. Ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran appear to be stalling as a 2-week pause in fighting is set to end. Vice President J.D. Vance is still in Washington despite a scheduled meeting with Iranian negotiators in Pakistan. Yesterday, a spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry told state television that Iran had yet to decide whether to attend. Iranian officials have said the U.S. blockade of its ports are an obstacle to negotiations. President Trump has insisted that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon and is demanding that Iran give up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Pakistan's foreign minister is urging both countries to extend the ceasefire and pursue diplomacy. Germany's top diplomat is also calling on Iran to travel to Islamabad for negotiations. And President Trump says he expects a great deal with Iran, but also makes clear that the U.S. remains prepared to take action if negotiations fail. He also hints at Chinese support for Iran amid an ongoing U.S. naval blockade. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
What I think is that we're going to end up with a great deal.
President Trump projecting optimism about what he calls a great deal with Iran, but the president is also warning that the U.S. will bomb Iran if a Wednesday night deadline lapses without a deal.
Well, I expect to be bombing because I think that's a better attitude to go in with, but we're ready to go. I mean, the military is raring to go.
Iran has yet to confirm officially they will attend the talks. The president this morning accusing Iran of repeatedly violating a ceasefire. He's also calling for the release of 8 Iranian women at risk of getting hung, saying that would be a great start to our negotiations. But he's also pointing out something that he says could hurt negotiations: Democrats' criticism of the ongoing operation in Iran.
Ranting and raving, oh, this war is so terrible, terrible. They shouldn't be saying that when we're in the midst of a negotiation, because it does hurt us somewhat. It gives the other side some hope, and I don't want them to have hope.
On the Strait of Hormuz, a U.S. naval blockade continues.
Vacate your engine room.
After U.S. forces earlier fired at and seized an Iranian flagged ship that attempted to breach the blockade. President Trump this morning confirming that a ship had ties with China.
We caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps. I don't know. But I was a little surprised, but because I have a...
Shipping data shows the ship had been traveling from China, and Reuters reports that the ship was carrying dual-use items that could be used by the Iranian military. And this morning, the Department of War announcing that U.S. forces intercepted a stateless tanker, this time in the Indo-Pacific, accusing it of carrying materials to support Iran. It comes as the U.S. is trying to starve the Iranian regime of revenue and force it to the table. Reporting by Iris Tao, Entd News.
President Trump is invoking wartime powers to boost U.S. energy production and infrastructure. The administration using the Defense Production Act to accelerate projects tied to domestic supply. The president yesterday signing memos to allow federal funding and support to flow to key sectors facing delays and shortages. The White House says the effort will help deliver reliable, affordable, and secure energy across the country. President Trump pointing to national security concerns, warning energy gaps could expose the U.S. to foreign threats. The move comes as officials work to counter rising energy prices amid the Iran war. And President Trump is making a last-minute push against a high-stakes redistricting measure in Virginia. He's urging voters to reject the proposal ahead of today's ballot measure. The proposal will temporarily allow lawmakers to redraw district lines before the next census, which takes place in 2030. While Republicans currently hold 5 of the state's 11 House seats, the redrawn map could bring Democrats an edge in 10 of those seats. President Trump calling the measure a blunt partisan power grab on a tele-rally call yesterday with House Speaker Mike Johnson. The referendum drawing national attention with millions spent as both parties battle over control of Congress, and polling suggests it could come down to the wire. The measure also faces legal challenges, and even if approved by voters, the final map could still be decided in court. Voters in Virginia are casting ballots today in a redistricting referendum that will have major implications for the midterm elections. Joining us now is Mike Leon, Director of Strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation and host of the Can We Please Talk podcast. And we have Tony Kinnett, national correspondent for the Daily Signal and host of the Tony Kinnett Cast radio show and podcast. First of all, good afternoon to you both. Good to see you. So, Tony, let me start with you. The referendum could change Virginia's congressional seats from 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, which I might add is nearly evenly split. Change it to about 10 Democrats and 1 Republican. And former Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin said Governor Spanberger wants to turn it into the most gerrymandered map in America. What are your comments?
Well, I mean, right off the top of the bat, and good afternoon to you both. Really look forward to this particular segment. Gerrymandering is 100% legal. It is something the state legislatures have the absolute constitutional authority to do. This is supposed to be a mechanism that makes voters pay a lot more attention to their state legislatures. Because yes, it can absolutely be a partisan thing. It is the way that the state maintains a balance with the federal government. That said, is it politically wise to do this? This is the question that has been asked over the last 50 years, especially. We've seen California, we've seen Illinois, above all and all, do this kinds of stuff. Of course, Massachusetts as well. We've seen Texas throw their hat into the ring. We saw Indiana kind of sort of almost throw their hat into the ring. It appears that there are some who believe that if you can't make a huge appeal to voters, whether it's the right or the left, well, you just turn this map into a nightmare from a Jackson Pollock painting. And again, I would argue that right now, there are a lot of Republicans who are making some of the arguments that the Democrats made a couple of months ago. Now there are all of the, oh, how could Texas do such a thing? My stars, that are now saying that the Virginia redistrict is wholly necessary to fight fire with fire. It's all political theater and nonsense. I hope Virginians vote no today because it's silly. Do I think that it's taking the vote away from people? No, voters should care more about their state legislature seats. That's my take.
All right, Mike, your turn. Where do you stand?
Well, good afternoon to all of you guys. I just finally noticed for the first time in this segment that Tony winks at the camera before in his intro. So I'm going to start doing that as mine. I think he does that to win favor with the audience, but be that as it may, speaking of winning favor with the audience, this is exactly what's happening here with this redistricting fight. I think Tony is absolutely right. To say that this is partisan in nature is absolutely true. Just realize, President Trump, that you were doing it for a partisan reason, just like Democrats are doing it for a partisan reason. If we look what Tony just said about Texas, Texas started all this. California and Virginia are putting it a little bit more in the voters' hands, but they also know that, especially in California, there's more Democratic voters, so that's why they'll probably win that. For anybody out there that wants to clutch their pearls and say this shouldn't be done, you know, this is all partisan, as long as you realize you're calling out the hypocrisy on the other side when they're doing it, then I'm okay with you saying that, even though I'm not really that okay. So long and the short, what do I want to come out of this? I'm with Tony. I want these bipartisan committees that are put together to actually do their work and not to be circumvented like we're having here in a mid cycle, because 2030 would be the next time when we would actually look at this. Now it's being broken up because of political reasons, because of the midterm elections that are coming up. So what ends up happening today with Virginia with respect to will they garner at least the ability to gain more seats is just putting a checker on a checker with some of the other states that have done it. I would like for all of the states to do what Tony's state in Indiana did, which is to say, no, we're not going to do this. This is actually the map that we have that represents our constituents. That's not what's happening here. So I agree with Tony, like the hypocrisy in all of this, if you don't realize that this is partisan in nature and this is being done as a reaction to things that have already been done, well, then you're the hypocrite that doesn't realize that. So we'll see what Virginia voters do, but I will say it does make people pay a little bit more attention, like Tony said. And by the way, just because your map has been gerrymandered does not mean that it will lean Republican. It just means it will have more Republican registered voters or Democrat registered voters. You still have to go out there and vote like we saw in 2024, where President Trump was able to get more moderates and others to leave their political party and actually vote for him in the general. So go out there and vote, folks.
Okay, so I want to point this out specifically for Virginia, Tony. Governor Spanberger did say in her campaign, 2025 gubernatorial campaign, she had no plans to redistrict Virginia. And as well, didn't Democrats already respond to Texas redistricting already?
Yes, they did. I thought the California was supposed to be the tit for tat here, but then I guess we're going to bring in Missouri. Again, there still are the cases of Illinois and Massachusetts and the redistricting and the gerrymandering. Again, kind of Caesar's salad of wonderful political delight in this situation. But again, yeah, regarding Governor Spanberger, there is a reason that her approval rating has plummeted like a rock in the stomach. She promised, I'm going to be a moderate. Voters said, wow, I would really like a moderate here. Even as Glenn Youngkin was kind of a moderate on the right, she would be the moderate on the left, and we'll return to this pendulum of moderate blue to red to blue kind of stuff. And then she turned out to be, I mean, really far to the left, because she had to be really strong, you go girl style progressive attitude. That was really stupid. And so now you see her pushing this. And again, if there is a way to give Republicans an edge in the midterms and actually get Republicans out to vote, it's pull this kind of stuff. Right now, Republicans aren't really excited about things. Democrats are really not excited about things. Mike and I have talked about this quite a bit. This low turnout election that we're heading to because everyone's kind of tired of it all. Well, if you then go to a bunch of voters in Virginia and say, hey, guess what? We're going to cut the map in half and leave one little small chunk over to Republicans, and the rest of it, we're going to throw a ton of districts in for Democrats. Regardless of the conversations and the gerrymandering back and forth that's been going on, voters see what's right in front of them and what's just happened. So if you want to rile Republicans up right before Election Day, okay. I mean, I guess this is the move. Texas, I was expecting a far more gerrymandered map than we got out of Texas in the end of it. Instead of the 2-seat swing that we ended up seeing, again, canceling a racially districted seat prior. If this is the Virginia map they want to go with, I think this is playing with fire to kind of, again, the whole you go girl attitude. I don't recommend that long term. That's not going to pan out.
Okay, so Mike, Tony says it's playing with fire. What do you say?
Well, I mean, it is playing with fire. The problem is, does the fire ignite people to go out to vote, to Tony's point? I will say this, and just hearing from other outlets, other panels that have discussed this ad nauseum as this was approaching this date, one of the things that you hear from people on the ground in Virginia is that the political messaging around this is a little bit confusing, because we've got Barack Obama, the former president, featured in ads that are running for both the Democratic and Republican side in terms of why we should vote yes or why we should vote no. That in and of itself is a microcosm for why we all think this should be left alone, right? In terms of what we have with these bipartisan committees that are put in charge to do this and look at this from a 10-year outlook. So I haven't drilled too much into Spanberger and what she's done since she's been elected as governor. I agree with Tony that she did run as more of a moderate, maybe even centrist, if we want to use that word here for lack of a better term.
Sure.
I haven't really drilled into what she's done post that. But I will say, Tony, one thing that is being left out is there are other states that have already done this. Now, Ohio and Utah have done this separately for different issues, not necessarily doing what Texas did. We have Missouri, we have North Carolina, obviously Governor J.B. Pritzker, who will be on my show in a few weeks, just recently was thinking about maybe gerrymandering one more seat that he could get out of there, Massachusetts. So there's a lot of checker on checkers, as we like to say in the sports world. I wish they would all kind of stop and do what Indiana did, where you saw Republicans and Democrats kind of come together and say, all right, we're not going to do this in this state. But does it ignite the fire for people to go out there and actually vote in the midterm elections in an off year when Donald Trump's name's not on the ballot? I'm not necessarily sure if that's the case, especially April 21st and all the mixed messaging that's on the ground, TV, radio, local ads that you're hearing from folks because they don't know directionally what they should be choosing here.
Okay, so Tony, earlier you said you hope voters say no. Let me read you the ballot question that voters will be deciding on. So, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to restore fairness in the upcoming elections? There's more to it. I left out some parts, but that's the essential question here. Correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like this is not written in a neutral tone, and ballot wording can genuinely influence outcomes, especially for voters who aren't following the issue closely. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty sketchy stuff. And I don't like that, no matter who does it. Of course, you guys have heard me rail quite a bit against the way that the House of Representatives names bills, the Save All Puppies Act, and inside the bill, there's a poison pill to kill kittens. I mean, this is really, really, really egregious. I think that if you're going to make the case for redistricting, treat American voters like big boys and girls and actually let them consider the motion at hand. But saying, well, constitutionally restoring fairness and the friendship of all peoples is ridiculous. It's the exact same kind of thing that Spanberger's criticized for, doing something that is considered a radical move and then calling it, oh, we're restoring democracy, that kind of garbage. It didn't work in 2020, didn't work in 2024. When you look at the broader House scope of things, when the argument is, oh, it's Americans care about democracy. When you put a bunch of fancy, fluffy words behind stuff to pander to people, it doesn't matter whether you're faking eating an elephant ear at a state fair or whether you're pushing major core policy. People really don't like this kind of a thing. I don't think it's going to do as much as they think, because I don't think people are going out to vote in full excitement in this particular measure anyway. As I guess we'll have to see. We have someone on the ground this evening to pitch to. And again, once we pitch it over to him, we'll see kind of what it is that he sees on the ground, and the exit polling is spurious as that is. But yeah, I don't think this is, I don't like this anywhere. And here is a clear-cut example of yeesh, kind of scummy.
Okay, so Mike, what do you say to the words restoring fairness in the elections? This is the ballot question.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do the Bridgerton accents that Tony's been busting out here during this segment, but I will say,
I thought you'd like that, Mike.
They are very good. I will say that. So maybe add that to the producer list on there of accents that they're going to have to judge later on. But Tony's right. Like here in Florida, over the last couple years that I've lived here, we've had a few ballot initiatives. On legalizing marijuana. We've had some other things that have just had the question framed in a direction that makes you think your answer isn't correct. And that's exactly what that question framing on that ballot proposition, initiative, whatever we want to call it, is wrong. And it's wrongly worded. And Tony's right. Like whichever party does it, it doesn't matter which party does it, whether it be DeSantis down here in Florida or Spanberger in Virginia. If you want to treat voters like the normal adults that they are because they're 18 and they're of consenting age, and we're putting that in front of them because we know that they understand this stuff, right? No matter what we think about the electorate, we think that they understand this stuff. Word it in the proper way. Do you want Virginia to gain 4 more Democratic seats by gerrymandering this map? I mean, I'm not the person writing out the wording of this, but I agree. It leads to confusion. And again, I want to echo something I saw recently on an NPR piece where they had a couple of reporters that were on the ground and they spoke with this couple that were kind of supporting the initiative, but in their words were like, I don't really support this because I don't understand necessarily if I'm supposed to vote yes or no. And it was very funny just to hear 2 people that actually support what the overall goal is because it's answering some of these other states that have done it, but they couldn't get behind it just because of the way it was being done. That should give us all pause and alarm for all of this, because that's not the way that this was meant to be back when the framers started writing this stuff up.
Okay, Tony, can I just ask you, do you think it's possible at all in 2026 and beyond to have a redistricting process that is purely technical, creating fairly drawn districts without politics? Is that possible?
No, and I don't even think that it's possible in the year of our Lord, Domini, whichever you want to choose in the AD, because redistricting is an inherently political thing. The left and the right, or if you want to go back to the Federalists versus the Democratic Republicans, had different concepts of what the cultural markers and lines should be. And now today we have 100 different factors that go into how you split groups up in a certain district. If we're going by localities, well, in some places that's more gradient than it is a stark contrast. The difference between 20 miles outside of downtown Philadelphia is very different than 20 miles outside of downtown Dallas-Fort Worth, for example. So you have to keep that into consideration. Then there's religious, and there's political, there's cultural, there's economic, there's the socioeconomic, when you got to get family mix and build up in there. How do you actually cut those things in a way that you're going to get a clear differentiation? That's supposed to be the job of the state legislatures themselves. And this is why I hate constitutional referendums. I despise them. The idea that you're going to have someone draw up a very fairly worded question and then have everyone vote on it in an issue that isn't actually going to end up working how the ballot is describing. We didn't set the frame up to be this kind of mob rule democratic style of flip-flop. And I think that when you're looking at a possible redistricting push in the future, it's going to be inherently political. Either people care enough to elect state legislatures that are worth their salt, or they don't. It really is on them.
So, Mike, Tony says it's impossible to redistrict without politics.
I got nothing to add, Your Honor, because he's right. I mean, they're truly, if you just look at the makeup of when we started this republic and you look at the makeup of where we are current day in 2026, socioeconomic, political leanings, just the makeup of this panel, use us as an example. So there is no way to do this in a fair, in the kind of the way that Tony and I kind of look at this segments, where we take out partisan affiliation and we try to look at statistical data and give a compelling argument about the topic itself. You can't do that when you're trying to do something that's gerrymandering a map, because to Tony's point, the person who's drawing up these questions or who's initiating this is doing it already with a partisan lean and slant. So it's impossible to do in 2026. I don't object to anything Tony just said there, Your Honor. I actually withdraw my motion.
Okay, well, I think there's nothing more to add about the redistricting topic. I have a couple more topics today. Let's talk a little bit about gas prices, Tony. So something interesting happened yesterday. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright said Americans could be paying more than $3 a gallon for gas this whole year. And then President Trump pushed back. He's saying he's wrong. So what do you think about that? Do you think Republicans have a chance if gas prices stay where they are right now?
Oh, if gas prices stay where they are right now, not a chance. Now, again, to Mike's earlier nod, it is a long way still until the election. There's a lot of time for things to change. The president did sign in the executive order authorizing essentially kind of the push through of a lot of energy infrastructure and expanding things. Now, again, I think that the Iran Operation Epic Fury, that situation means that because we can expand energy production as a national defense issue, which should have been done, just for the record, a good 2 months ago. I mean, if we can snap our fingers and do that during COVID, we could absolutely have done that, again, a solid 2 months ago. That's an Ezra Klein kind of Democrat abundance and then kind of free market conservatism meeting point in the middle there. But I think that realistically, the president had to push back against the energy secretary there. You have to be bullish on the economy when you're the president. You have to be. I mean, you have to say that what we are going to do is going to work. I can't really fault him for that. Do I think the prices are going to come down? Absolutely. I mean, they have a little bit, at least where I am so far. We'll have to see whether that holds and that trend continues. Obviously, right now with the vice president not there, and again, I still expect within a month that Carg Island is probably going to be under new ownership. We'll have to see what that does to the international market and prices here. The DOJ is also investigating price gouging. That should also be a populist Democrat and populist Republican point of unity. I think that's probably what we need to see in the next, again, by the end of Q2 is where I'm going to make my prediction, and I just don't think we're there yet.
So, Mike, Senator John Kennedy says the one big beautiful bill is going to help a lot of people in terms of their taxes. And he says if we talk about it, we'll win the midterms. Do you share this confidence?
No. Was that the whole question? I was waiting for a little bit more. Here's the thing that I will echo something that I think every Democrat that's come on my show, and there's few that I've actually asked them to outline certain things. So let me just give an example. I think I mentioned him last week, Scott Collum, who's actually running against Sidney High-Smith in Mississippi. One of the things that we were talking about, I'm like, well, so when you're talking to voters about the one big beautiful bill and its impact to them, because Mississippi has farmers right now. We all know, obviously, what was going on with Trump and the bailout with Argentina, not a bailout, however we worded it. And one of the things he mentioned to me and some of the things that he's hearing on the ground from voters as he's trying to get them to vote for him potentially this November is that I won't feel the impacts until 2027. That'll be after the election. So it's almost kind of like the one big beautiful bill is almost like a trust me on this, just elect me, and then the bill will come into effect and then it'll actually affect my life. And I think there's so many different parameters that are at play right now. To Tony's point, I like the Q2, beginning of Q3 gauge as to where we are from an economic standpoint. Gas right now around me is around $4.19. That's a little bit high. I agree that there are other elements of businesses that just do want to keep those prices there. It's an incentive for a corporation. FYI for everybody out there, corporations are around to make money, not necessarily to bring the prices down just to make us all feel good and balance our checkbooks. So we'll see what happens with there and what the president has at his disposal to try to kind of, put a lever on that and maybe get things back in a direction that could be favorable for them. But the things that I've heard the most, Don, from Democrats is that when the one big beautiful bill comes into effect in 27, the biggest effect will always be around the healthcare part of this and the portion, and that's going to affect millions of people. And when you're talking about rural voters in different areas, just to go back to Scott Collum for a second in Mississippi, those are a lot of constituents in that state that are going to be affected by that, right? One big beautiful bill comes into effect, does the opposite of what John Kennedy was saying. By the way, Louisiana, tons of rural areas in Louisiana, tons of his constituents that have reached out to him that are saying, this one big beautiful bill will impact me once it comes into 2027. I think that's the biggest drawback I've heard about the one big beautiful bill and how it'll potentially have an impact on voters is that they won't find out until after the midterms because it was slated as such.
Okay, so the producers gave me some breaking news here. I'll give one reaction from each of you quickly, and then we'll call it a day here. So Florida Congresswoman Sheila Phyllis McCormick is resigning after being indicted for stealing more than $5 million in FEMA funds. Tony, your reaction?
Good riddance. Let the door hit you on the way out. Any Republican or Democrat that does this stuff, sexual assault, fraud, I don't care whether you're George Santos, McCormick, whether you're Representative LaMonica McIver, you commit a crime on camera, on record, get out. I think that Americans having less of a fuse for this and expecting this is unprecedented, and I want to see this continue. RD, libertarian, don't care, more of it.
Okay, Mike, final thoughts.
Couldn't agree more. The gold bar Bob Menendez over in New Jersey.
Yes.
I called this out. You know, I happen to know his daughter, Alicia Menendez, over at MS Now. I said it then, and she got mad at me. But let me tell you something. If you're stealing gold bars and you're trading in favors from other foreign countries, how hard is it to not break the law, folks? How hard is it to not break the law and also be a member of Congress? Like, this shouldn't be that hard. Sexual assault, breaking the law, stealing funds. What are we doing here? We should be calling this all out. RDL doesn't matter. I next to your name doesn't matter. Tony's right.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Thank you for speaking with us, both of you, Tony, Mike.
You guys are great.
Thanks, guys.
Billions lost to alleged Medicare fraud, and now a nationwide crackdown is underway. We have more news. Also ahead, mysterious deaths and disappearances involving scientists tied to sensitive U.S. nuclear and rocket programs now under investigation on Capitol Hill. Stay tuned for more in just a moment after this break.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune was speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill just moments ago. Let's listen to what he had to say.
It's 11 of the 12 appropriations bills. We did that in a way we wanted to get back to regular order, and so we worked with Democrats, actually worked with Democrats on all 12. And then, of course, at the last minute, the Democrats decided they didn't want to fund DHS. And so we've now had 2 long shutdowns of DHS. So long that the employees at DHS has been unfunded for a longer time than it's been funded. So those employees over there have not been paid for more days than they've been paid in this fiscal year, if you can believe that. So the Democrats have effectively written themselves out of the appropriations process by drawing a line in the sand and saying that we are so committed to our open borders and defund the police policies that we are not going to fund the two agencies that are tasked with keeping this country safe, protecting our border, and ensuring that illegal immigrants in this country who commit criminal acts are deported out of the country. That's pretty much what it is, as simple as that. And so what we have been forced to do, and frankly this is not my preference, but it is a reality, we are going to use the reconciliation process to fund those two important agencies. And so we will be getting on a bill later today, a budget resolution that will be the unlock the next step, which is budget reconciliation, that will enable us to ensure that those who carry out law enforcement responsibilities in this country are actually funded. And so I had to say again, what did the Democrats get out of all these shutdowns? The long shutdown in the fall, now this is 68, 69 days here on DHS. I can't determine what that is. They wanted to make it about reforms. And so the White House made reforms, we offered up reforms, and they kept moving the goalposts, walking away from it. It became very clear that their base had convinced them that the only thing to do is to defund the police and to go back to the Biden open borders policy. That is effectively what this is all about. Republicans are not going to allow that to happen, which is why we have been forced by the Democrats to use the reconciliation process to see that these two important agencies are funded. We will be doing that starting today for the balance of this week, and that will unlock, as I said, the second step budget reconciliation to come later. Senator Brasso.
Well, Republicans are committed to a safe and a secure America. And that's why today we are moving forward to fully fund our nation's security in the Department of Homeland Security, and we're going to do it without a single Democrat vote, because the Democrats were doing this in the face of their historic obstruction. Why are they doing it? It's because they would rather stand to protect illegal immigrant criminals than protect law-abiding American citizens. They wanted to fund ICE. They wanted to fund Border Patrol. They want to go back to the days where 10 million illegal immigrants flooded into our country, criminals, drug dealers, gang members, all of it. What they want to do is dangerous, it's reckless, and it's radical. Republicans are united and committed to a secure border and a safe America.
Leader Thune, good afternoon. What are you willing to entertain as a possible add-in to this reconciliation bill besides DHS money? What are you willing to accept? Bond money? Save America Act?
Well, what this does, the budget resolution simply sets some top-line numbers. So the conversation about with that kind of granular detail will happen later when we get into reconciliation. But, you know, obviously we think it's about this, and we think the narrower and the tighter we keep the conversation around this, the more likely it is that we have success in passing it in the House and in the Senate and putting it on the President's desk. So that's the objective here. That's the goal here. I'm sure you know, because I've seen you all reporting on it. We have other members who would like to do other things through reconciliation, but this particular exercise has a specific purpose in mind, and we intend to stay focused on it.
Leader, can reconciliation pass on muster with the parliamentarian if it had SAVE Act? Without SAVE, can you get the votes to pass it?
I think I'm confident, of course I got to rely on the whip here, that we will get the votes to pass it in the Senate. And are there other things that will be contemplated if obviously conversations with the parliamentarian to determine what could survive the Byrd test would be key to that, and we'll see. I mean, I think right now the goal is, as we've made it very laid out from the beginning, is to fund DHS, ICE, and CBP to make sure that it's funded into the future, because it's pretty clear to us that the Democrats have no intention of providing any funding for either one of those agencies in the foreseeable future. So it's narrowly crafted, and we'll see if there are other things the traffic might bear when we get into the reconciliation process. But my goal is to do this quickly and hopefully in a way that enables us to get it through the House and on the President's desk.
There's a 60-day mark when it relates to the war powers House resolution is coming up next week. As you know, your members have been willing to give this administration latitude, but some of them do say they want more details. Are you concerned that Republicans might vote with Democrats on the War Powers resolution if there aren't more details from the administration?
There's going to be another War Powers vote tomorrow, and so we'll get a chance again to see where everybody lands on it. But I think that most of our colleagues believe that the president is correct in making sure that Iran can't threaten the world with a nuclear weapon, and frankly that their ballistic conventional weapons have become disproportionately favorable to Iran relative to other countries in the region. And so taking out that capability, taking out their Navy are all things that I think are going to serve the long-term strategic national security interests of the United States, as well as ensuring that our allies in the region aren't threatened by Iran's military capabilities and terrorist threats and everything else that comes with it. So we're supportive of what the president is doing. We have colleagues, as you point out, who are interested in more information about this, and I've always encouraged them to reach out to the administration officials. They've been very forthcoming. When I've asked questions from whether it's the Secretary of Defense or the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs or Secretary Rubio, they've been very forthcoming with information about this, and the president himself. So, we'll see. We've got to vote on this again. That'll happen tomorrow. But and the president does have under the law another 30 days that he can unilaterally extend it.
Leader Thune, can you tell us? To some questions from last week. Thank you. You all know I'm not prone to exaggeration, but the Senate Ethics Committee is one of the most secretive committees on Capitol Hill. We've had another representative in the House just resign. There is a reckoning, especially on the House side right now, over allegations of misconduct. One of those congresswomen has said that she's referred a senator to your office, from her chief to your chief. Can you respond to what you know about Senator Gallego, if you have concerns? And can you respond more broadly? I know you said you're doing what you can about ethics, but why can't the Senate Ethics Committee with the chairman here be more transparent, at least about when they meet, maybe who they're talking about? The House Ethics Committee at least does that.
Well, and I'll let the chairman respond to that question. But that specific matter that you referred to, we did refer to the Ethics Committee, and I think that's the appropriate role for us. I don't know the particulars of the allegation, but I know there was a House member who made those allegations, and I think the Ethics Committee will be tasked with trying to determine whether there's a there, and then to respond accordingly. But and I'm, again, the Ethics Committee in the Senate is designed to ensure that this institution and its members conduct themselves in a way befitting of the office, and that we're doing things in an ethical manner. But Senator Inhofe,
sorry. Good question, I can't see it. So let me just say, the Senate Ethics Committee is extremely serious about taking on allegations. Especially allegations like sexual harassment, all the different things that are out there. We take them very, very seriously and should take them very, very seriously on this. But we do function in a quiet manner. It's evenly divided with 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. We have a very open conversation about all the different issues, and we work our way through it. As you know, in the political world that we live in, a lot of allegations come to us that they're unfounded at the end of it. We literally get hundreds of different allegations that just come at us. We go through those, try to evaluate, is there any there? If there is, then we continue to move forward. If they're not, then it's political theater on this. So we take every single one of them and work our way through the process on this. We're already working our way through all the things that have been handed to us, but you're correct. We're not going to release it out to be able to go through the process on this. This is an equally divided. The House also has a process where they have 2 ethics committees historically on this, and there's a lot more public that comes out on it, and then they find out at the end of it that it becomes the theater of the allegations. So it facilitates more allegations because it creates more theater to be able to be in that. We have not in the Senate.
Have resigned because of the House Ethics Committee, and in part we may not have gotten to this point except for the transparency on the House side.
No, I wouldn't agree on that. I would only say the House Ethics Committee was doing its work. They were working their way behind the scenes and let members know we're complete with this phase of the work. We're now moving to the next phase. They were not trying to be transparent at the beginning of it and to say we've got allegations, because that just facilitates more people throwing out more allegations and creating more theater. We want to be able to find out, is this factual or is this a political attack on every single time that we go through this, and we go through a lot of them. Once it gets to that stage, yes, things do start coming out, And this whole group can go backwards to be able to think through when that has happened in the Senate as well. It's not hard to be able to research, to be able to find the exact same type of issues that have happened in the Senate in the past. But at the beginning, we always start very, very privately to protect members, because we don't want to facilitate frivolous accusations. We want to facilitate accurate accusations and actually work through to be able to hold each other to account.
So you are erring on the side of lawmakers and not the accusers?
No, ma'am. That's not true.
Members from frivolous accusations. You're
Sure we
assuming
do.
that most of them are.
No, but you're making a huge jump then to be able to say we're not protecting accusers. That's not true.
On the side of the lawmakers to protect them.
We want to err on the side of all individuals. I started with saying that we're very serious about sexual harassment, and we're very serious about the victims on that. If you'll remember, that's where I began. So our focus is all folks have to be heard on this, but we live in a political world. In a political world, if every ethics charge goes out there, everyone then grabs that ethics charge, uses it in a campaign and say there's been an ethics charge out there, the ethics committee is talking about it, and suddenly becomes drama and facilitates more things coming at us. We want to take seriously every victim, every accusation, but we also understand the environment that we work in.
Senator, can
One
Kevin
last
Warsh
question.
get confirmed if Jay Powell's still being investigated?
Yeah, Kevin Warsh, he had his hearing today. It went very well for him among the Republicans. Tom Tillis has again endorsed him as a great pick, but he reiterated he's not going to allow this nomination to go forward while the DOJ is still investigating. What is sort of your view on how to resolve this and what the administration can do to get this across the finish line?
I think we all agree that Kevin Warsh is a great pick, and hopefully will be confirmed. And I'm hoping that these other matters related to Chairman Powell can be resolved in a way that would enable us to get Warsh out of the committee and across the Senate floor and into the position of chairmanship. But as you know, there are currently at least some obstacles to that on the committee. But I think the sooner the administration can wrap up this investigation and get ready to move forward with a new Fed chairman, the better off everybody will be. Thank you.
And you were just watching Senate Majority Leader John Thune giving an update on the DHS partial shutdown, saying that Democrats have removed themselves from the process, and Republicans are now going to go through the reconciliation process to fully fund DHS. John Thune saying that he doesn't even know what Democrats are getting out of this. They just want to go back to the Biden-era open border policy and defunding law enforcement. Okay, taking a break. Billions lost to alleged Medicare fraud, and now a nationwide crackdown is underway. More news after this in just a moment.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure in my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org. Become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Thank you.
Have you heard what's happening at Mathis Home? Our spring style event is going on now, with hundreds of options for your new dining room. This 52-inch table is a great deal. It's just $4.99 in your choice of finishes. Mix and match chairs to complete the look that's just right for you. You can also get it with a marble top or in a larger size for extra seating. We have your style in stock now with fast, free delivery. Get your new dining room and save at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Representative Sheila Phyllis McCormick has resigned from Congress. The Florida Democrats' resignation follows a House ethics investigation. The House Ethics Committee found Phyllis McCormick committed 25 violations of House rules and ethical standards, including breaking campaign finance laws. Committee members had been considering what punishment to impose ahead of her resignation. Republicans had already called for her expulsion. Phyllis McCormick is also facing federal criminal charges accusing her of stealing $5 million in COVID disaster relief funds. Phyllis McCormick denies the allegations and has pleaded not guilty. The Florida Democrat released a statement this afternoon calling the ethics investigation a witch hunt. House lawmakers today are probing fraud that's taking place in the government's Medicare program. It's one of a string of hearings dedicated to cracking down on fraud schemes since the Minnesota child care fraud issue first drew national attention. NTD's Malina Weisskopf has more.
This Medicare fraud issue is similar to what we saw with the child care fraud scheme taking place in Minnesota, where citizen journalists have reported buildings that on paper are busy providing hospice care, but in reality, they're either neglected or wholly non-existent.
To date, Dr. Oz and CMS have shut down 450 hospices, with none of those companies asking why their payments stopped arriving. Why? Because they were all fake. LA County had a 1,500% rise in the number of hospice facilities from 2010 to 2022. One building in the county is allegedly the home of 89 different hospices. At one of these scam hospice providers, a social worker wrote about a family's grief after a patient had died. And yet that patient didn't ever exist, and there was no evidence they had ever passed.
It's estimated that Medicare loses around $60 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse every year. To put that into perspective, that's around $900 per beneficiary. One witness was a victim of this fraud, saying that she was left to foot the bill after a fraudster stole her benefits.
I was locked out of receiving any medical care because I had been falsely classified as a hospice patient. Imagine being told, in effect, that you are at the end of your life when you are not, and then being denied access to care because of that error. It was not just frustrating, it was terrifying.
Did they catch the criminal ring or the person who defrauded, who used your information to defraud taxpayers?
Well, that's an interesting question. I actually found out who the NPI belonged to of that fraudulent association, and I did that investigation independently once Medicare gave me the name of it. So I was able to contact the person whose NPI was also taken, and he removed himself. Subsequently, someone else picked that up. That organization was still operational when I did the first interview about what had happened to me a month or so ago.
The Trump administration has launched a national task force to address this type of fraud. That's led to several arrests, including specifically 8 arrests earlier this month involving licensed medical professionals who allegedly defrauded the nation out of more than $50 million. One lawmaker with decades of experience in the healthcare field told me that this type of fraud is all too common and federal programs are in need of audits.
And the audits, that's what you have to do. You have to audit these particular programs to make sure that the people who truly need it are the ones that are getting it.
Today, the CMS administrator announced a nationwide plan to crack down on Medicaid fraud specifically. Under this plan, all 50 states would be required to revalidate their healthcare providers. Here's what the administrator had to say.
What does that actually mean? That means if there are 5,000 people providing services, which was the number in one of the states that we're looking at, and they can't even get several hundred of those people to respond to queries about who they are. Do they really exist? What's their social security number? Do they have a right to provide these services? Is that sort of the basic thing you'd want to do?
And he's already shut down around 450 hospices, mainly in California. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Japan today unveiling its biggest overhaul of defense export rules in decades. The move scraps restrictions on overseas arms sales and opens the way for export of warships, missiles, and other weapons. Here's what we know.
Japan is scrapping restrictions on its exports of weapons. The move marks a big step away from the pacifist restraints that have shaped its post-war security policy. It's also meant to give a big boost to the country's defense industrial base. Companies like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries can build complex weapons systems including submarines, fighter aircraft and missiles. But for decades they've had to rely on one customer, Japan's self-defense forces. Now overseas sales could help such companies build revenue, cut costs and boost capacity. The changes approved by Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's government retain a commitment to strict screening, controls on transfers to third countries, and a ban on sales to nations involved in conflict. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara set out the changes on Tuesday.
Today, no country can safeguard its own peace and security on its own. To protect both national and regional peace, it is important to further promote the transfer of defense equipment and strengthen the deterrence and response capabilities of allies and like-minded partners.
Japan is already taking steps to bolster its military, increasing its spending and buying missiles, jets and drones to deter any threat from China. It's also developing a next-generation jet fighter with Britain and Italy for deployment in the mid-2030s.
Time is running out for Iran to come to the table as the ceasefire is set to expire tomorrow night, and President Trump declaring the military is raring to go if Iran doesn't agree to a deal. More news after this break. Stay with us.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives.